Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest series of podcasts with myself, Liam Carroll, a qualified financial consultant with SYS Wealth and Financial Planners. And the idea behind these podcasts is to give health to your wealth by meeting some experienced professionals who will give some invaluable advice to try and help you and your business. And today we're delighted to be joined by Gillian Barry. And Gillian, just to give a short introduction on her, she has a passion for innovation, design and technology and helping entrepreneurs through the most important stages of their startup journey or supporting business leaders and their teams through their innovation and business improvement journeys. She's passionate also about community and social development and works with numerous organisations to support growth in our regions in Ireland, and also has been a contributor at a European level for some years. She's a first-class executive MBA from UCC and is currently in the first year of a professional doctorate at WIT and spends a lot of time developing programs, initiatives, events, and a valuable global network, leading, partnering, or advising on various projects, and also one-to-one helping entrepreneurs and business leaders test their ideas and develop them, and then a strategy. She spent the first 10 years of her 21 years in business as a certified software engineer and business analyst before moving further into project management and senior management, heading up the CRM team for a growing technology consultancy company based in London, before moving back to Ireland to lead LIT innovation and enterprise team. Gillian, that's a fantastic introduction anyway, and thank you very much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you so much. Delighted to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Gillian, I suppose just towards the end there, we mentioned that that you work in LIT now. You might just give us a background on your role, I suppose, and LIT itself as well.
Yeah, so I'm delighted to be on the team in LIT, and I lead the Enterprise and Innovation team. So we have quite a number of enterprise and incubation centres in Limerick and Tipperary, and we'd work with about 100 companies, aspiring entrepreneurs every year, be that from students and alumni of LIT itself, but mainly the general public actually. We would run the New Frontiers programme, the Enterprise Ireland International Entrepreneur Development Programme. We work with young people as well in a variety of different programmes, but everything is a focus on entrepreneur development, so your personal skill development, and how you face the world as an entrepreneur and build those skills, and then looking at venture success and innovation. So we kind of twin track that, helping the individual develop their core skill set and then helping ensure venture success, or as they say, fail fast and on to the next thing. So we have I suppose we're quite busy, but really enjoyable and diverse work. So delighted to be doing that. LIT would be one of the leading in the country really in supporting enterprise. We'd certainly have the most centres across the country. So we've got entrepreneurs in residence and experts in residence and plenty of people to help aspiring entrepreneurs and innovators out there. So it's great to be involved in that.
Fantastic, and it sounds very interesting, the entrepreneurial element, especially as well with the COVID lockdown, and I think there'll be a big link into that as well. A lot of people having to take their own steps forward in business. Would that be fair to say, Gillian?
Absolutely. I mean, it's when we're faced with our biggest challenges and lots of problems and frustrations, it's a great time to innovate. It's a great time to test, I suppose, your resilience and adaptability and reflect on that and see what we've learned. So I think everybody will have time, hopefully, to reflect and say, well, God, look at how I battled and pivoted and changed and adapted with such speed as well. So I think there'll be some amazing emerging stories coming out of the region and the whole country, in time.
Brilliant, Gillian. Yeah, that's fascinating. I suppose a question we've asked everybody so far, and it's amazing the variety of answers we get to, but challenges facing you, I suppose, first of all, on a personal level, since the start of the COVID lockdown.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was interesting reflecting on that. I think at the start, it was shock and awe, wasn't it, for everybody? Protecting your family, trying to understand what this was about. I mean, I do a lot of research, so I went straight into the databases to have a look and figure this thing out, and to have vulnerable people in my family. So protecting them was really important. And I'm a mother, so I think a lot of people trying to balance your work and your life, trying to deal with mum guilt, and at the same time dealing with the challenges that that work brought, and certainly, you know, I'm doing my doctorate as well, so that had its challenges as well, just trying to fit everything in. So it was a challenge, but you have to kind of dig deep and you know, tap into all the stuff that you've learned and you continue to learn to try and go with it, and just take every day.
Yeah, no, that's, I
Yeah.
think it's amazing. I've done a good few of these podcasts, Gillian. It's amazing the positivity out of people, like that it's a challenge and I deal with it and I improve. Like it's fascinating to hear it really from people, and I think you're
Yeah.
telling that as well. Yeah, so it's,
I would say, like, so many people, like, there's no doubt that everybody will have had moments of anxiety,
yeah,
and moments where you think, you know, you're in some sort of strange movie, or you're an observer to some, you know, really weird reality TV show or something like that, and waiting to see what series 4 will bring out. But yeah, it's really learning how to deal with that as best you can, and accepting that you'll have moments of up and down, and that's okay. Yeah.
it's fascinating, brilliant answer. On a professional level, Gillian, how has it affected you and on the lines of the same?
Yeah, so we in LIT, we would obviously, we deliver a lot of programs, we deliver a lot of mentoring, startup clinics, we do a lot of workshops. You know, we would, our whole team now would say would be certified in design sprints and that kind of stuff. So we would facilitate a lot, and do a lot of that kind of real face-to-face work. So we had to adapt quickly. Now, we would have used online and blended learning for lots of different things. We're involved at a European international level with lots of projects. So we would have been very familiar with Zoom and Teams and whiteboarding online and all of that. But then we had to go into overdrive. So everything very quickly had to be adapted. So that agility of our team was important, to have those kind of core capabilities that we were like, right, you know, we've got to get on with it and get everything set up. So that agility and adaptability was really important. And also then the uptake. I mean, the entrepreneurs, the companies that we were working with, for them to be able to adapt as well and to support them through the process, was very important, and to be able to be available to people. All of our enterprise centres in Limerick and Tipperary stayed open because we had companies that were delivering essential services, and actually companies as well that, you know, fair play to them, they pivoted to meet demand that was needed in the community, be it with, you know, our own led within LIT for face shields, and there was thousands and thousands, I can't remember the number now, it was absolutely incredible number of face shields and protection created in LIT. And we had companies that were doing hand sanitization, and we also have a company actually involved in the supply chain for creating, hopefully, a therapy or a vaccine for COVID. So we had all of these companies that needed to continue to use the space, and they were deemed essential services. So we had to make sure that the space was safe, and we had to learn what that meant and how to, you know, we were doing risk assessments and everything. So we just had to really get on with it, and make sure that we could support the people to enable them to do their job. And that was critical. And also it was, I suppose it was a very emotional time for a lot of people, because I guess we work with emerging startup companies. So luckily a lot of them were okay. Some of them were, you know, decision makers were pausing. So they were stopped, their orders were stopped, everything was stopped. So it was supporting them to make sure that they, you know, continue to develop and grow, and how we can help them to do that, and actually just be there if they were finding it, you know, having a tough day. That peer-to-peer network you get in enterprise centres is incredible. You know, the support over a cup of coffee, when you bump into somebody, like, it just is really incredible. So we wanted to help that, you know, to stay there and continue our lunch and learns and continue our network availability. So professionally, absolute overdrive, and adapting and agility was really important. So
It's amazing. We're creatures of adoption, really, aren't we? Like, and people
oh yeah,
did
yeah.
adopt, like, in a major way. But you have a fantastic background, as we went through earlier on, and it's wide and varied, in fairness. But some tips for people. I suppose I'm going to put two questions into one nearly, but tips for people using your background, and also anything within from your professional point of view as well, that tips that you'd have from your background that would be totally underused, or things that people maybe will take advantage of, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, I had to think about that, and I thought, well, what kind of worked well for me during COVID, especially, and I suppose we come from an innovative and creative sector. So first of all, I thought, well, my day doesn't have to look like it used to look like anymore. So I thought I'd innovate and be creative with what my day looks like. So I get up really early, and I start to, I've changed how my day works, especially when my daughter was at home with us. We had to, make sure she was looked after. So I would say to people, a nugget would be change how your day works, make it work for you if you can. So, I mean, not everybody will get up at 5 a.m. and try and get things done, and it might not work all the time, but that helped. Focus is important often. And with so much stuff going on, you can very easily ruminate and lose time during your day, which is precious. So I would always use music. So I use the Calm app or Spotify, and I use alpha wave music. I've used it back in my programming days in kind of huge big offices with lots of people making noise, and I needed to concentrate. So I would recommend alpha wave music. Another thing that I've used in project management and in facilitation is this idea of a mental car park. I don't know if you've heard of this. So when you're working and you're developing your and you're trying to get through your day and you're trying to just get things done, if you find yourself going off, thinking about the news or thinking about all the different things that have happened, the good, the bad, and the ugly of what can happen, that you can actually mental car park it, write it down, and you can deal with it later. And I find that's very effective way to keep you on track and get through your day in a very positive and effective way. And I'd say also turn off and limit social media and the negativity in your life as well. There's a lovely term called libertarian parentalism. Have you ever heard of that?
Gillian, I'm getting educated today, I tell you. It's a school
Well,
day.
I love this. So we'll all know this. So on your phone or on your devices, you can set timers. So for me, like I love design, and we've got bits and pieces to do to our house. So, but I limit myself to 10 minutes a day. And this idea of libertarian parentalism is that we recognize that even as adults, that we do need a nudge to behave the way we say we would like to behave. So these prompts on social media to say, hey, you've done 10 minutes now, or delete them altogether, will help you to be more productive when you're under pressure, because having that work-life balance is really important if you have children and our family to look after, but also making sure that you stay connected with your friends and your colleagues and your community. And you could spend a lot of time reading things on social media that may not be healthy for you. So I would say, these little nudges, set yourself up with some of these settings, and I think that that's very effective as well. So there, I suppose, some tips on focus, time management, getting through your day, because your time is so important. And even though we can't meet socially, that to give time to your family and your friends is really important, because we could be absolute workaholics, and I'm definitely guilty of that, because I find it hard to say no. So there you go. And I think just on the second part to your question, I was thinking about it. I mean, I've got way too many things here for you now, but I would say
I've got two, libertarian parentalism and mental car park too. I've got two bits anyway I've never heard of before, so we'll go with another one anyway. You can. So anything for people totally underused and unknown in your industry, I think, was really
so I would say one thing that's probably underused.
Yeah.
I will have a look at that. So, and one of the most underused is actually validating an idea. So I work with emerging startup companies, and people come to me all the time with their ideas, come to our team all the time. And I'm just fresh off 2 days of interviews with over 50 people, which was hard going, but really interesting, of course. And we've probably interviewed, got about 150 people this year who've got business ideas and innovative ideas. But the challenge often is that people don't validate an idea. They don't know how to do that. And they feel that there's a need for a product or a service. And they might feel that, their friends or family have told them, wow, that's amazing, but they don't really know how to validate an idea properly before investing their time and money further into it. And then they wonder why it didn't work out. Now there's lots of reasons why things don't work out. We've seen the environmental stuff. There's a lot of things outside of our control, of course. So timing and the environment and all of that, there are things that are outside of our control, but we can certainly validate ideas much better, and we can test our assumptions much better. And that's something that we do with the startup companies that come to us. So that would be one of the things I would say to people is, look at what you're assuming, look at what your assumptions are, and test those and find ways to test them. If you assume somebody is going to pay €100 for your product, what is that based on? Validate that. Go and ask people. If you assume that such and such a company is going to be a customer of yours, really, how are you going to test that? How are you going to validate that idea? And there's lots of things that you can do just to help you to validate a little bit further in your market space, rather than spending a lot of time, money and investment to realize that, no, I could have actually found this out months ago. So that would be one of the most underused elements. A lot of people will come in and they will say, I have this amazing idea. Now, will you tell me how to get finance? Will you tell me how to market my product? Will you tell me how to manage my cash flow? And I need to hire some people and I need space. And they kind of park their idea as if it's fully ready. It's ready to go. This is amazing. This is going to change the world. So that's the most underused aspect and the most important.
Validating ideas, liberating parentals,
validate that idea.
There's three very interesting things anyway today, Gillian. And I suppose from listening to you, it's been fascinating. I have to say, and I've learned a bit myself now as well. But startup companies, is it really startup companies you deal with, or maybe companies who are in progress, maybe a couple of years, or who should contact you, Gillian? Really?
We sometimes we say we with both actually. So if somebody has a startup idea, and actually it could be a new product idea as well. It doesn't, or product or service idea. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who's a fresh startup. We often get actually individuals who are spinning out of another company. They're experts in their area, but they might have some areas where they're a novice, or that they just need to brush up in. So just because somebody is in a startup or early stage entrepreneurship, they could really be like incredible experts in their different various fields, or even experienced executives, or they could be young students, right? Yeah. So it's anybody really who's got a new product or service idea, and they could be right at the very early stages. But we work with companies, we work with individuals who are bringing a company from the very early stages right up from startup launch to raising finance. And getting out to the market. So we have a full spectrum. It's not quite that linear. It's more, chopping and changing. And you could be a 100-year-old family business with a product idea, and you might need some support to help and get that off. And we like turning things on their head. We like to ask different questions. Question the question, as they say, and turn things on their head and probe things apart and just try and get to the essence of the idea, the problem. There's a great framework called Job to be Done. So what are you trying to help your customer? What job or jobs are you trying to help your customer to do? What does success mean to them? Is the workaround that they have at the moment sufficient? Will they change to use your product? How much will they pay for that? So that's the kind of facilitation that we would do as well with the startups.
Yeah, it resonates a lot with the industry that we will be in, because you'll have you're trying to solve a problem nearly for a client, like that. If they have children, have they correct cover in place or savings plans, and have they planned for their long-term future and this kind of thing. Like, so it's exactly as you said there, kind of resonates with our industry as well. And Gillian, I suppose, as you know, we're in the financial services industry ourselves, and just one question for you on it. the financial products that you have used in your time that you have found the most useful or the most beneficial?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that we've got different products that we would use as a family. I suppose from that perspective, I was to take my personal perspective, and certainly, having income protection policy is something that we took out to just give us a bit of peace of mind. I know that we're in a very uncertain world and it's a complex world, but I think something like that, is an important part of planning as well.
It's amazing really, because during the COVID, income protection proved to be one of the policies that was most popular, and I think an awful lot of that is down to the COVID-19 payment that the government gave out, and it was a kind of an informal, if you want to, or unofficial form of income protection. So people were thinking like that, well, if I was involved in an accident, if I was sick or got an injury, etc., how would I survive without my income coming in? So the COVID payment got them thinking. So it's fascinating that's the answer that you gave as well. Like, it's just, you're ahead of the curve, Gillian, ahead of the curve, I think.
Ahead of the curve, yeah. We're looking after ourselves a little bit, I think. Yeah.
So, I nearly say it's an unfair question to ask you, because you've given so many tips and so many bits of advice. It's been fascinating. But the best bit of advice, I suppose, whether it came from a parent or came from work or where you got it from, best bit of advice.
I mean, this is quite a hard one, because I've been privileged enough, I suppose, to have a couple of pieces. But one of the things that one time somebody said to me that blew me away was, if you're feeling anxiety, that you should get really excited. Oh, there for you. So you've got this pain and anxiety that you should get really excited because you're about to learn something new about yourself. So don't go for the walk and have the cup of tea and go for a distraction. Sit with the pain and see what's happening here, and see if it's an opportunity for personal growth. So that was something that was said to me a few years back, and kind of blew me away a little bit, because our strategies have always been to do something to distract yourself from the anxiety and get rid of it. Bit of exercise maybe, or something. But to flip that and to say, no, this is an opportunity for you to learn something about yourself, and sit with the pain. Ooh, okay. So I thought that was
fascinating. People in these times, because there's obviously, and sure, you're involved in an awful lot of small and large businesses. And people have anxiety, and if that could be put into practice, like it would solve a lot of problems, wouldn't it, Gillian?
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a team leader, a manager, if you're somebody in innovation, and what we see often is that you've got these personal constraints. So you want to show the world your innovation, but you're nervous about it, and how you react to that can affect your behavior with your team, with everybody. So it's so multifaceted that it's important for your own personal development to get to know yourself, and that, because that affects your behavior, and your behavior affects how effective you are as a leader, and as an entrepreneur, and getting your business and your products out there and being a success. So it's all very much knitted together. It's important, I think, to understand all of that.
Gillian, thank you very much. It was fascinating, very interesting. I learned loads, and I hope everybody who listens to this learns loads as well. I know of a few people who did go out to LIT with startup businesses, and the help that you and your team gave was absolutely extraordinary, and couldn't recommend it highly enough. And Gillian's contact details will be at the end of the podcast. So if you want to contact her, I'm sure, Gillian, you'll be delighted to hear from people. You're available for calls, I suppose, through email and Zoom and on the phone and everywhere really at the moment. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do Startup Grind as well, and so we see people at Startup Grind Limerick. So there's lots of different ways we can get in touch with me. We engage on programs and clinics and lots of different things. So get in touch and I'm on social media as well, of course, albeit for only a short period of time.
Liberation parentalism, Gillian, exactly.
Libertarian parentalism, yeah, nudge theory.
I'll be Googling that anyway later on, but...
Well, it comes from nudge theory, if you look up that. That's, yeah.
Very good. And finally, your courses. When are your courses starting, Gillian, or have they...
So we're going to be starting our new crafting business next week. So people have just missed that, and we're into our New Frontiers group at the moment. So our next actually we've got a youth entrepreneurship program starting in the midterm called Empower with Mary Immaculate College. And we're going to be looking at the world's biggest problems and supporting young people as they develop their big ideas around that. So very excited about that. We have to develop the ecosystem, and that's important. And then we'll be running our phase 1 for New Frontiers in the new year, and another cohort of our crafting business. But we're always running startup clinics and mentoring programs. So just ask people to get in touch and we can see how we can help.
Gillian, thank you so much. I think everybody will get invaluable lessons out of this interview anyway. So thank you. Thanks a million for taking the time. And to everybody, I hope you enjoyed the podcast and we'll talk again. Thanks very much.
Thanks a million, Leo.